We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. This is our favorite day of the week. We get to be in the studio. Gabe Johansson, I'm here today. We got Dane McKinney back in the studio with us. Done traveling the world for a few days.
We'll see.
You'll probably leave again here later this week.
I don't need to. Yeah. I'm good on that.
All right. Stick around. Stick around. Your fans want to hear from you. We got Trevor Howard and Mike Nuss. And I think before we start, we want to give a shout out to Travis Dillard.
Well, first to MCG.
Oh, yeah. This episode's brought to you by.
Did you say Trevor's name? Is he not here today?
Huh? I said Trevor's here.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Focus up, Mike.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's because I didn't say Trevor GPT.
Yeah, that's it.
Trevor GPT in the house.
I love how he went to GPT and then created an economics learning.
I've been following it too.
Have you?
Yeah.
So he went to GPT to create an outline, Chat GPT, an outline so he can be smarter
Not
than
even
me
an
in
outline.
economics.
I made a full 6-month study course, and it's linked to everything that you need.
It's got hyperlinks.
Hyperlink to every video I have to watch, every book I need to read, everything I need to listen to.
So you'll have like a master's course in macroeconomics?
Yeah, I told it I'm willing to spend an hour a day. I want this understanding of economics. Is this reasonable to achieve within this time frame? And it said, sounds good. I said, make me that study plan. And then it kind of gave me the topics. I said, give me all the hyperlinks. And then it gave me all the links. And then you just click on it and follow along.
That's amazing.
So we don't need university anymore.
No.
That's what you're saying. Those
Think
days
of the
are over.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars they get to go into real estate now.
I had ChatGPT write me a song by Toby Keith yesterday.
Oh.
Well, it was his
Good
first
job,
4th
man.
of July without him. You know what I mean? So, anyways, big day for me.
Was it a good song?
Yeah, it was.
It didn't sing
good.
it, though. It just gave you the
No.
There's another app
There
for
is. Yeah.
the lyrics. Okay.
Did you
So
cheer
we're-
up?
I actually did. I'm so glad you asked because I did cry a little
I
bit.
bet.
Yeah, when I thought about it.
Did
I
you
don't know.
did you cry in your Coors Light yesterday?
Thinking about Toby Keith. It was actually.
Oh,
right
you were drinking
right when I woke up.
You were drinking twisted tea.
Like
He was having twisted tea for breakfast, probably.
the first thing I did.
when you have a mullet like that, you have to drink twisted tea.
All right. Well, back to our sponsor, MCG.
So I owe an amends to Chad Montgomery, I guess. Trevor tells me I do anyway, so I'm so sorry, Chad. Chad's one of my closest friends. I said that contractors all suck. I don't think I actually
No, you said
that.
all GCs suck.
Overconfident.
I said they were overconfident. Thank you.
No, you said you can't trust any of them. All GCs
Okay.
suck. Episode 31.
Okay, I still sort of stand by that a little bit, but not all GCs suck. There are good
but
there
Chad.
are some
Okay.
good ones.
in any industry.
Yeah.
There's like 10% of the people who should probably go to jail for what they do, and there's like 10% of the people who are really exemplary at what they do, and then there's like the middle, right? Where it's like sometimes you're good, sometimes you're bad. You're just sort of like you do. I mean, it could be a broker, it could be an appraiser, it could be a contractor, it could be anybody, right? For some reason, I think that when we hire contractors, we only hire the 10% that should be in jail most of the time.
It's because they cost the least amount of money.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
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 If your
Direct correlation.
contractor is not an alcoholic, you're not doing something right. You want to be successful in real estate. It literally is dealing with humans other people can't deal with. So you need to write checks on the spot. Like those are the vendors you need to work with. They have life issues. It's just like the car salesman, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Saying Chad has life issues now. Chad.
Chad's sober and he's
Yeah.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
He runs a great company. Actually, they fill a niche in our market where they do small office TI and retail TI, and they really help a lot of nonprofits and smaller companies in our area that could not afford to use one of the bigger players in town. And so he did that on purpose, and he actually does a great job. He's getting ready to do a big TI for me in my building. And we love Chad, and MCG is amazing.
So he
So
puts
Gabe
the
takes back
non-alcohol
all-
on top of yours.
We were texting about this because he was really mad at me for saying this about GCs, and I said, "Well, you're just a really underconfident GC. You're not an overconfident GC."
Because that's what I see when I see him as an underconfident dude.
He knows how to stay in his lane. He'll tell you. As a matter of fact, I've been trying to get him to build apartments for like 5 or 6 years. And he knows his lane. He's not quite there yet, but they're going to start building some duplexes and
Smart
stuff.
man. I finally
Actually,
got to
that's
meet him.
Jaron is going to start building duplexes.
Finally
Shout
got
out to
me Jack
Jaron
Chicken
also. I beat him in golf just so it's on the record and everyone knows.
Oh,
And I don't play golf.
Avery, you should cut this out and put it into the interview with Jaron to start it out.
How do you swing a golf club when your elbows won't bend?
Oh, not well, but I still won.
So Trevor GPT, for our listeners, if you don't know this, Trevor cannot open his arms all the way.
Yeah.
He can't straighten his arms all the way. So does that hurt you in a golf swing? Like I'm having a hard time imagining you swinging a golf club.
Yeah,
It doesn't look nice.
You're like a 130,
It's like a putt. Every single shot's like a putt.
like a little over a 90-degree angle. Just picture.
No, no, I can straighten a little more than 90.
Okay, real quick, let's give a shout out to Travis Dillard. He drove all the way from Hood River to come to the SRE meetup Wednesday night. Trevor and Alex Ferry with State Farm put on a one of the biggest meetups, I think, in Oregon now. It's in Salem. It happens the
First Wednesday of every month.
first Wednesday of every month at the Sassy Onion on State Street in Salem. If you haven't been, you should come. Really amazing. Travis came and gave us a great presentation. I was super inspired by everything that he shared. He's a mobile home park, RV park kind of guy, has a very specific buy box, and wrote a book. He also is the co-founder of the 0 to 100 Tribe. And if you're interested in learning more about what they offer, I believe it's ZEROTO 100tribe.com. They wrote a book. They have a website. They offer resources, training, and education. Anyway, it was a really great meetup. He actually had one slide in there that impressed me so much. It reinforced all of my beliefs in just a few bullet points. And we're not going to talk about it today, but we're going to follow up on one of our episodes where we talk about kind of all the things that you've been trained to believe that are wrong, or maybe they're not wrong. They're just maybe you haven't opened your eyes to it yet. So anyway, thanks so much, Travis, for coming down to the SRE. Everybody, if you're not going to meetups, go to meetups. And that's it. So now we'll get into what are we talking about today?
Well, we're getting an update from Mike. Mike has some
news.
Yeah, wait, which direction are we going? Are we
I don't know.
Are we going deals or life? That's kind of your call, Mike.
it's
Let's
all
start with
together.
life. Let's start with life.
It's all together.
Deals are
together.
life. Mike had a hard week.
I did, yeah. It seems like a lot of just shit happened all at once, and I think that's kind of how stuff happens, which makes sense because a lot of good things have been happening. I don't want my personal life to dominate this podcast. It feels like it has. I think that's part of just going through big transitions in life. And but yeah, I had a friend, a very good friend, local developer in Portland, committed suicide. Committed suicide in February, and I think suicide's different than any other type of death. Like, had he been murdered or died in a car accident, everyone would have known. And I think no one wants to talk about suicide. And there's, I don't even know where I want to go with it, but I ignored it for a period of time. You know, like that's kind of, I was one of the first people to find out. I know a lot of backstory about it that people don't know about. And because it was kept quiet, you kind of get this little comfort level of not having to deal with it. And then about 2 weeks ago, life started getting hard. You know, I'm working on the office tower. That started. It was obvious we weren't going to be able to get everything in line to get firm commitments in time, and so we had to start working on an extension with the bank. That ultimately didn't go through. That care facility that I'm working on, the guy who wanted to buy it from me backed out, doesn't want to buy it from me. You know, some of those things happen, and then I get a phone call from Alex's designer, who's, you know, hey, his memorial service is tomorrow. We'd love for you to come and you know, let anyone else know. And so Friday, that was last Friday. A week ago, just kind of, you get somber, you get in the moment, and then like, well, how do you move forward? And I think one thing I wanted to talk about today is you have to feel feelings. You can't ignore them. And if you do, that shit bottles up, and then that kind of starts affecting you in a way. But at the same time, you also have to move forward, and you have to have a lot of things going on. And I think where a lot of people in real estate is, if you don't have a lot of things going on, it's really easy to get fixated on one thing, and it's really easy to put identity into one thing, and it's really easy to put so many eggs in one basket that then that creates more of an impact in life than it should. So, you know, on the positive side of it, now I can communicate with some people that know me well, and we can talk about, well, what is suicide? What does that mean for you? Like, what is the backstory? Is that going to do anything to change how you frame life, which it kind of has already? And then how do you start changing how you move forward in life with that? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. An update on the office. We tried to go for an extension with the bank. We got... And again, things happen. It's like the magic in life. So I wasn't here the last podcast recording, so I had 2 weeks of being able to listen to some podcasts, and we got Avery up and running, and so now they're dropping again, and we can listen to episodes. And the week prior to last, the office tower dropped, and at that time I'm going through, well, this isn't going to happen. And Gabe said something, we talked about we have 30 days. That's how long our earnest money, our due diligence period was, and he's like, Gabe's comment was, well, that just goes to show banks don't even know what we do. It's going to take more than 30 days just to put it together. And, we got to the end. We ultimately got a plan, and all we needed was, I feel, another month. We asked for an entire month because of the 4th of July. I don't think we needed that time, but we needed to get an LOI signed, which we were really close to doing. And then we could take that LOI to our soft commits and turn them into hard. So I felt like we were there. That sucks. That was dejecting.
So they didn't give you the extension?
They didn't give us the extension, and that we literally signed that the day that the memorial came out.
Could you have continued the deal and just put up hard earnest money?
We could have, yeah.
But you didn't feel confident enough to move forward based on the commitments you
Correct.
had.
Yep. So
it was harder to raise money than you thought?
Yeah, it's not. It's the plan. Yeah, because you have to have a plan. It's harder. Getting the interest and getting the commitments is relatively easy, but then it's okay, well, you need an LOI, or our plan was based on getting...
When you say LOI, you mean LOI from the bank saying that?
No, from a tenant.
Oh, to go occupy the unit.
So that's really, at the end of the day, what we looked at it was you need to buy it cash and you need 20% occupancy. And so we got to that point. We just needed to get LOI signed, and then we can go get firm commitments. But that was right up against the other part of it is you have $200,000 in earnest money, and we have 45 days to close. And so now you're rolling into LOIs and hard commitments. So
your investors were worried because you didn't have tenants.
Correct. Yeah,
lined
exactly.
up.
Yep. Yeah, no one's going to write a check. And even our point was, well, we're not really ready to write a check either unless the LOI is there. And it ultimately just didn't have enough time.
Well, I mean, that's the difficult part of buying a vacant building, right? We're buying an income stream.
Mhm.
There is no income. So whether you're a lender or an investor, or it's just you guys as the sponsor, everybody wants to know where's the income stream going to come from.
Mhm.
And so you figure, well, it's such a great play that even if we just get a couple of tenants, it's going to pencil.
Right.
But who are those couple of tenants?
Mhm.
You still have to have that in mind, right?
Right.
So that's my point is I think you could raise the money in 48 hours to do that deal, but I think it takes longer than 30 days to write the business plan and go out and find your list of potential tenants that are showing interest in coming into the building.
Correct. Yeah. So we got a lot of soft commits, but and then at that point, so what if we get to day 45 and we need 5 more days to wrap everything up, and then the bank doesn't want to extend and you're out $200,000? I think ultimately what happened was we were used as leverage, or someone else could get a better deal.
So they used your offer to go work another offer?
Yeah, because they were really firm. When it came down to the negotiation, they got really firm with us. And then the feedback we got back really felt like they got another buyer there. And then I've gotten some texts from some people since, and it sounds like they do. And so, but I haven't given up
until that deal falls apart. Now you might be in a better position.
Yeah. But kind of rewinding it back to suicide is like I never put my identity into it. I kept focused. We still have all these other things that I think that helps. But yeah, there's definitely some tears shed over that one.
Well, it's one deal. There's lots of deals.
Well, and and I mean we're talking about a lot of different things here, but one of the things that I remember talking about when you first brought this deal up was all the things you would learn and how that levels you up to even go through the thought exercise to have a deal like that under contract. Like just because you fell out of escrow doesn't necessarily mean you didn't learn anything or it didn't level you up or teach you something for the next deal that you do.
I want to dive in, like, what did you learn? Because it sounds like you just mismanaged or misappropriated the timeline.
Yeah, it's the syndication portion of it. It's the game plan around the syndication. Because that structure is 100% new to me. And then we did, we recorded the episode. It hasn't dropped yet with Bob. But then, and that was his specialty. Looking back, it would have been really helpful to have Bob up front with his
on day one.
Before we ever got into escrow.
Yeah.
the negotiation side of it. So because when we actually got into escrow, we look at it as well, this plan isn't really fleshed through. What is the occupants we need? Where is the debt portion that we're going to get? And so Bob added a whole lot of value to the equation, but it was kind of handcuffed us because it was a little late. So just learning the insides of a syndication. It's funny how LPs, where their expectations come from, what their metrics are that they're looking for. Syndications are, I think at this point in time, in-place income is really important.
It is.
I think a lot of syndications that were going based off of increasing NOI significantly and just the appetite isn't there.
It's hard to syndicate a total reposition like what we're talking about. That's why when you brought it up, I was thinking, man, there's no income stream there. So you being a basis buyer and saying we could buy this building for less than the dirt would cost us, it makes total sense if you're using your money or a close group of partners who have enough cash to take that down. Then you syndicate it later once you've got the business model going. Because what I found is, like, in my partnerships, I go out and I buy deals, and we're cowboys, and we'll buy a deal like that with our own money, put up hard earnest money, and do all that. But really, when it comes down to taking other people's money to invest, it really there's not as much meat on the bone. It's not quite as sexy in terms of total return, but it's a safer play. And I think LPs, limited partner, like you're talking about, they're looking for a place they want to put their money. They want to know you've got good sponsors, you got a good business plan, and they want to see a steady, safe return.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be cowboys, right? And so in my sense, in my portfolio, is that if there's a deal we're looking at where we've got to be cowboys, probably not a syndication. One of the things Logan DeVos always says is you can make a good deal great by syndicating, but you can also make a great deal good by syndicating.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, not every deal, I guess what we're talking about is how many tools do you have in the toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
Syndication is one tool, utilizing other people's money to go into that asset that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do because you were able to pool the resources to go buy it. It's one way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. So I'm wondering, when you're looking at this office tower, was there ever a point where you guys shifted gears and said, maybe we don't syndicate now? Is there a way to just raise the capital amongst a small group of us, or borrow the money to just lock this thing down so that we could syndicate later?
Yeah, and funny, going back to the interview when we first interviewed me on this, that's really where I was going and where my mind was we need to buy this thing and syndicate it out later. And that does make sense. But again, in that scenario, you need to have a pretty good plan on the ability to then syndicate it on the back end, which maybe that's the way we go after it now, which is, hey, we have this plan. We have this pool of LPs. It does look like this is viable and that we can do this. If we go in and take this down, here's how we can re-syndicate it. So if it weren't for the suicide last week, I would probably have a plan. I would have probably come to the table ready to go.
Took you off your game a little.
100, so much so. And then kind of going back to that care facility, I mentioned that the buyer backed out.
Wait, before we dive into that, if you were to redo the office tower, like, what would you change to have made it successful this time? Like, longer time frames or what?
Yeah.
That's it?
But we couldn't change it because it was owned by the bank, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was a narrow needle to thread going in, and it was more narrow than I realized.
So you were overestimating what you could do almost within that time frame. Do you think so? If you had bought office towers before in Wet Hand, then that time frame would be reasonable. But doing the first one, you just need more time to figure out how to go through all the stages.
Correct. Because one of the things, what did I learn? I got a lot more intimate with my Rolodex, which was super helpful, and that's one of the most important things of all that.
Now you have soft commitments raised for any deal.
I know who's interested in that type of deal and who's not.
And you're ready for the next one. Like, spiritual principle here is the deals you're supposed to have, you're going to have.
Yep.
This was not a deal you were supposed to have, or maybe it's not ready yet for you to have it. But there's going to be plenty of other deals like it coming, maybe even a lot better deals to where you'll look back and go, man, I'm glad we didn't close that first one. This deal we did close was twice as good.
Yep.
And you've already sort of got your team lined up for when you see that deal. The first person you're going to call is Bob or whoever, and you're going to start piecing that business plan together right away, and know for the second time through you'll be much more successful, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the other piece of this is you have to look at the whole shelving system and the macro system. I was able to show my staff that this is a huge distraction to our company, and it did not distract us. I think even that, because the most important thing to me is not buying more real estate. The most important thing to me is that my staff is successful, that they have the vision, that they're moving forward, that they're confident, and they can trust me. That is the most important thing in my life right now. And you take on that office tower with the two huge distractions, two different types of deals, and no one, it didn't affect anyone in their line of business. And so that was really successful. That's a look back of strength for me is, okay, my team is ready for me and for us to go.
You spread your wings a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and made some really great, solidified some more relationships in the office process. And I know I kind of keep going back to the care facility, but the reason being is, so that failed, and then the office tower. But I'm now putting the care facility back together and meeting other people, and
give me more info on why the care facility.
Yeah, and it's the timelines. It's the urgency of the office tower, and then while I'm putting urgency into the office tower, the care facility is, well, we're doing this with the group home, the recovery home, the sober homes, and so that was looking good, and we're putting in all of it shifting. So to go to the care facility, sober home falls apart. But as the sober home was falling apart, I also have a friend in the mental health scenario, and I'm doing what's unique about the care facility is it has a residential zoning. You cannot do in that location what they're doing. So it has a grandfathered use. And so there's this zoning code, there's building code, life safety, and then there's senior care facility codes, facility management plans, and then there's mental health facilities. And I have a friend who's trying to build a business so they can sell it in mental health in Portland area. And we've been trying to find him a building. So I brought him involved. And the reason I brought him involved is because I had a meeting with Life Safety. And what I found out going back to 1962 and seeing how the International Building Code is changing is this is an institutional use. It's called senior care, but that's just the heading. But ultimately, the occupancy is an institutional occupancy, the same occupancy that works for mental health services. And so as that's falling apart and as the tower is falling apart, I'm calling my friend Colin. We're getting Colin through there, and he's all excited. And he's like, oh, gosh, I got to look at all my leases, and we're having an emergency meeting at the board level to talk finances because it's the type of property they can move their entire operation into. And so then he's like, okay, well, this is what we need to do. We need to get our state inspector who does the facilities management that's different than zoning and building. She needs to walk through so they can get their mind wrapped around this. And it was really cool to meet her outside. She's excited. Before even walking, this is amazing. This can be the first type of property in the state where you can have these mixed uses. She's happy. We walk through. We do a plan. And in that process, I also talked to someone else who does consulting on the senior care side. In this care facility, I kind of joked, it looks like a recovery place. They're just under the guise of senior care. And so as I'm talking to Colin on the mental health services, I'm talking to this other guy who consults on senior care, and his whole thing is this needs to be a special needs contract. You can do it under senior care, but now it's special needs, it's mental health. And so what we might ultimately happen there is I don't know if I can convert it to, so Colin just wants to rent it to me. I can buy it, convert it, he'll rent it, and it's a really good
He'll rent it from you?
Yeah, the entire building. The other guy does management agreements. And so now you're an owner and it's a little bit different scenario. But if we can't get the Mental Health Institute approved through a use conversion based on its grandfathered use, I think we can keep the senior care in play, use the consultant to change them to special needs contracts. And then the current people don't need to vacate. So now you're giving services to people that need them. You're not putting them out elsewhere in the community. And then Colin's team can be the mental health vendor that then services. So Colin can win, I can win, the consultant can win, the members, the community can win.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a nice thing to last week to kind of put together and wrap a bow on how I was feeling. And then so now that's the focus, is kind of getting that taken care of, and then we'll go back to the tower and figure that out.
So you fell out of contract though on the care facility also?
No, we just extended and extended.
Okay,
yeah.
So you were good, but your original plan fell apart and you had to regroup and come up with this.
Yeah.
How much of your week do you think just had a shadow cast over it because of your loss? Which, by the way, sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Is that a? Do you feel like? I mean, you wanted to talk a little bit about human psychology. I mean, something goes wrong for me anyway. It starts to feel like everything is going wrong. like it's like can't catch a break. When it rains, it pours type of a thing, right? Yeah. One thing like that happens. Do you think that had you not gone to a funeral for your friend, that those other things, the deals and stuff, would have just felt like
they would have felt bigger than they should have been?
Okay.
Does that make like
you feel like they felt bigger than they should have been because of the loss, or they would have
No.
felt bigger?
Yeah, I think because of the loss, it's a really good way to put that other loss into
Oh,
context.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
What really matters?
what really matters. Yeah.
Okay.
So, because remember at this point, so the suicide was in February, and I think part of it we were supposed to. They'd gone to Bosnia. We'd met in December. They went to Bosnia in January. We were supposed to get back together last week of January, and I never followed through with that commitment. And then the next week, I found out he died. And so you put that on the back burner, and you don't let it, like I'd forgot. I hadn't forgot, but
Yeah,
it's back in
not-
your memory.
Yeah.
And so had that call not come about the memorial service, then yeah, because all of this failure is happening at once, and there's a high probability that now I'm a bit, because what matters most isn't in focus at that moment, then you feel that more than it should have been.
Sure.
So I'm kind of thankful that the timing of the memorial was when it was, because it allowed me to kind of get back, and it was also a Friday, which helped. So the weekend was the most of it. So last weekend was my single dad weekend. And I just spent it being kind of depressed.
How does tell us, how are the feelings different around suicide than other types of death? Is it angry?
It's hard to celebrate, right? It's hard to celebrate. It's a somber ending to a life that it's quiet. It's in the corner. People don't want to talk about it. You don't want to shed light on it. It dampens the mood. Does that make
Well, because when somebody dies, you sort of lift up their legacy.
Correct.
And you sort of do this whole they were amazing. And like I've never been to a funeral where anybody said anything bad about somebody who
This guy
died.
was average.
Yeah. Everybody really lifts them up and talks about how they were one of a kind, light up the room, the whole thing, right? When somebody commits suicide, you're kind of like, well, that bastard freaking left us on purpose, right? Like, I mean, you kind of, to me anyway, it kind of feels selfish, but you still lost them. And it's like, I mean, to me, somebody who's going through mental illness and they're struggling to the point where they're considering, committing suicide, you almost just look at it and go like, damn, I didn't know it was that bad, but I'm glad they don't have to go through whatever it is they were going through, right? But they leave so many people behind.
That's the hardest part, is the people they leave behind. And it's, everyone deals with it differently, and then we have influences that affect how we deal with it. My niece committed suicide in January of 18 at 15. And I remember my mom didn't want to tell my kids what the reality of it was, like the truth.
That she committed suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, well, how does that have an influence on me and my psyche, right? Like, well, how do you deal with influence? How do you deal with suicide as leadership standpoint?
What was real estate involved in his decision? You think?
Yeah, he's a developer.
So he went through a bad deal or lost money, or was there outside pressures from the business he was doing?
I don't know all the details of his business. I know that he was flipping homes. He was developing apartments. He was moving a lot of seller finance. But the bigger one is it's divorce.
Oh, he had some personal stuff going on.
Yeah. And that's where we got, because we had met, when we first met 10 years ago, he's from San Francisco, came up, and, we'd see each other at every meetup every month. And then we started having lunches. And, a few years ago, he's like, hey, I need a referral for a divorce attorney. And so all of that hit at once.
Sure.
And I think that's,
Well, mental health is, health period, right? Like we talk about, you make all the money in the world, doesn't matter if you're not healthy, and especially if you're not mentally healthy. You got to get help. You got to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
And he's the type of guy that you never know, because he's always happy. He's always
kept
optimistic.
it quiet.
Yeah, he's stoic, but he's always smiling, and he knows. He's the type of guy that knows a lot more about you than you know about them.
Yeah, well, that's a bummer. Really, really sorry to hear.
Thanks.
And I think it's a good thing to talk about.
I agree.
We joke around on here and talk about deals and everything, but this is real life. Like, what are we doing?
So, what are the lessons out of that? One, I don't think I should have kept it quiet, because he was a member of our community, and because it was kept quiet, there weren't a lot of our community members at his service. I don't think that keeping it quiet was the service to him.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, what thread am I pulling on in my life now is a loose commitment thread. That was what went to my brain when I started going on the late night walks with my dog and thinking about what does this mean in life. And, he and I had a real history of loose commitments.
Explain what's loose commitment to you.
We were supposed to get
we'll
together
grab
the last-
lunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
Yes,
do this.
exactly.
Yeah, we'll play golf, and you never do it.
Yep.
All right. So take the time to.
And even with him, it's, we've got lunch on the calendar and then we just boot it for whatever reason it's busy that day.
And it's not your fault what he did. I mean, that's
No, not at all. And I'm not taking it that way, but you can always learn from something,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And it's like, okay, well, our relationship could have been better if we didn't have those loose commitments. I don't know, maybe it could have been. But there are loose commitments in my life that I'm not happy with right now and that I do want to change. And if I do change those commitments in life, then I'd be a better dad, a better business owner and investor. And so and I'm not taking blame for it, but there's a thread I want to pull on so I can be a better person. I think that's what I owe to my friend Alex.
So make stronger commitments. And this to your business, too, to your point of deals, I was going to ask you, do you think that there's ever a point where you're doing too many deals or you're stepping too far outside of your lane to where it takes away from the deals that you should be doing?
That's always a yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
You think that there's because I mean, we want to do all the deals and we want to try all sorts of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about our buy box and we're trying to really stay focused because we're deal junkies. Like, we just want to run around. We want to buy an office tower. We want to buy a rehab facility. Like, all of this stuff sounds cool, but there are certain things that you're really good at that you already know where we don't have to go find the right partner, the right investor, the right lender. We already have it. And rather than just rinse and repeat, we tend to sort of run off in these different directions and go, well, let's try that too,
I have a confession to make.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, sorry, Gabe and Dane. I broke our buy box that we set.
Oh.
What have you done?
What did you do?
He's in escrow on something you don't even want to know about.
Well, I got really excited about a deal that Josh and Jude and all those dudes had, the downtown thing. They were telling me about it, and I was like, this sounds great. We would love to buy it. And then I was thinking about after we were talking about it, I was like, oh, shit, that's not even in our buy box at all. So I was like, I don't know why I just told him, but Dane can fix it later.
They called me on
ends up in my, and you sent me an email the other day for a property that we know nothing about, and all you said was to me and Jude, let us know when you would like to have an offer.
Oh, no. That property I already knew about.
No, we don't have any financials on it though. We don't know anything about the deal.
I do. I'll share it with you.
You just let me know when you want to see an offer because I'd love to
He's
throw
just
it out
learning
there.
from Gabe. You don't need financials to make an offer.
He's turning into a cowboy.
No, you do on this thing. This is not an 8-plex in Salem. This is
No. He said he would send it to us, and I was like, great, we'll write an offer after we have that. But the other deal, that was what we don't want that. I'm pretty sure, but I kind of want it.
I spent about an hour on the phone with those guys, and I explained to them all the pitfalls and the things that can go wrong with a deal like that. And then at the end of it, I was like, but it'd be a fun thought exercise. Let's go look at it. Let's look at the numbers. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always worth looking at. Yeah. And who knows?
See,
maybe
I think we would buy it, though, is the thing. Yeah, but it's not in our buy box we set at all.
Maybe our buy box is wrong then. I don't know.
Okay.
But it is a distraction.
It is a distraction. I think that it's like, to go to the office tower specifically, there's certain things that I would argue can alter your buy box, and one of the biggest things is basis, and like that's Bob's whole thing. And so listening to Bob talk about investments from not an asset class or a commercial, office, industrial, light industrial, self-storage, multifamily, retail, like Bob's just a basis guy because he comes from the background of accounting. And so I think that your whole buy box can be shifted when you see a deal and you know anything about what it should cost to build per square foot, and then what you're buying it at per square foot, or what the land is worth and what you're buying.
The problem is then you have to go reinvent the wheel with who's going to manage it, who's going to asset management, who's our lender, who's our investor. You have to go rebuild this whole business plan around that asset type.
Yeah.
Because you can't rinse and repeat what you already have. And I think people don't put enough weight into the infrastructure they've already built in their business.
Yeah.
And they just think, well, I already did it over here. I can go do it there. They don't think back to how many years or whatever that took to piece all of that puzzle together to make it work.
No question.
Every asset type, I mean, some overlap a little bit, but for the most part, even like we're going to talk about a self-storage deal that we're getting ready to do. We just want to do it because we're curious.
Yeah.
But we don't know how to run a self-storage facility.
And even to that point, the first guy that I call is the guy who I know runs 5 facilities just like that on that deal. And it's like my first thought was like, dude, you can own 10% of it. Like, we'll do all of the everything, and you can manage it, asset manage it, send me my K1, and then you can have 10%. And so he's going to get an outsized whatever because he already has the infrastructure in place, and then we're going to win because I don't have to spend however many hours. Not that he's actually going to end up managing it, but in that scenario, it's like that's why you brought Bob on. Like, you said at some point during that you realized that you were so far.
But Bob's not an office tower guy. He's just a syndicator. Like, he knows how to raise the money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a modeler. So I've never done a model like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his model was nuts. He showed us a spreadsheet on that
It's
at
stupid.
lunch.
Yeah, it's confusing as all get out.
Yeah.
So I have a nuclear engineer summarize it for me.
Help. I just had Trevor summarize it for me.
But to your scenario, like that's me, right? So my entire model, we do a lot of different things, but it's yield on cost and basis, right? So if you understand basis, you understand the value of existing improvements, cost of construction new, the value of depreciated improvements in yield on cost, you can be very successful.
But it is shiny objects.
It is
to Gabe's point. And the infrastructure.
You got to be careful about shiny object syndrome.
So we'll
the only people that know about shiny object syndrome are the ones that have it and gone through and seen the penalties of it.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know the penalties.
I will say though, to Gabe's, like, to your credit, you have shiny object syndrome, but you let somebody else figure out how to deal with it. And so
I'm just
you'll
lazy.
You'll be like, oh my God, that deal looks awesome.
Well,
Dane, can you figure out how we can buy that, and then who's going to manage it, and then what? And I'm like, that does look like an awesome deal.
Because we listened to AJ Osborne, and he said self-storage is the best asset.
That is
so
true.
we got on this podcast and said, we're going to go buy a self-storage facility.
Do you know what we did?
say
We
that.
made a bet with Mike on who could do it first, and we're winning.
Except he was supposed to find us the deal.
No.
I listened to that episode.
Oh, you
he was
listened
going to
to
get
that.
a 5%. He was going to get a 5% kick.
Yeah.
And you guys haven't even brought Mike into this deal. Mike is like,
No. We were racing Mike.
oh,
It was.
I thought we were going to do a deal together.
It started as no. So yeah. So it was
now
gonna
we're
be
competitors.
A race. No. So it was as a race to compete together to be partners.
Okay.
But whoever won just got a 5% extra promoted in.
Okay, so if we need a money partner, let's bring Mike in. He'll write a check.
We got a couple money partners on that deal that we don't need.
But
Yeah,
okay, let's talk about deals because we just closed some deals, and we
Okay.
can talk about that storage deal.
Talk about let's lighten the mood a little bit. We'll talk about good deals now. We had a good week. Did we have a good
We
week?
had a good month.
I had a great week.
Actually, I had a really bad month. I was like
Oh.
sick with allergies or something. the
You
whole-
were
COVID or
you
something.
were a little pansy.
I know.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad,
called
guys.
me
I felt
sounding awful.
I did not feel very well the month of June. I got to be honest with you. But we still had a good. On paper, we had a good month.
We did.
We closed a few
But
deals.
that's why money doesn't matter. It's all about your health.
I laid in bed a few times and thought that to myself. Like, it doesn't matter how much money we have. If I can't get out of bed, I could care less. Just give me a welfare check and get me out of bed. I don't care.
Because I called you like the day after we closed on Cavalier, and I was talking to you, and I was like, "You sound terrible right now." And you're like, "Well,
It
I
wasn't-
felt terrible.
it wasn't
for like
cool.
2 weeks.
Whatever it was not cool. All right, but I'm back. I'm back amongst the living for now. So what deals do you guys want to talk about?
Let's talk about our 18 unit we just closed on.
Okay.
Trevor, what do you want to tell the people about?
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is one we've talked. This is like one of our very first episodes. We
So-
talked about buying this deal.
This deal's awesome because our podcast caused our lender to not want to lend on our deal the first time.
The one thing we said we were
We have three
part of the
listeners,
deal.
and one of
Let's
them is
just-
our lender.
I do want to. Let's just show that how many podcasts out there talk about active deals and what they're going through. There's a risk.
Not
we
many.
take. That's what makes this special. We
So-
take risks, bringing the reality of real
We
life.
had to pull that episode,
Yes.
by the way. So if
Yes.
you're going back to listen to it, it's not
yeah.
there.
So let's tell the story. So we bought this 18 unit.
We'll have to pull this episode.
No. So no, we're
Trevor doesn't think so. I
So-
trust Trevor.
I thought you said you bought it.
yeah,
we bought it.
Yeah,
we
bought
bought
have to
so
pull
we,
shit.
we talked about this a while back. This deal took us like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. 18 unit, $2.5 million. We like it because it's like $400 below market rent. It's like $138 a square foot. what else about it, Dane, did you like? That's
No, that
mostly it.
was the
130.
thing.
It's just cheap per
138
square
is
foot,
ridiculous.
room to raise rent. We
And
bought
they're
it.
in really good condition.
It's already
Yeah.
turned. Like they did a bunch of work. They just mismanage it. There's not that many units left to turn.
It's in
Get rid of
Salem
those.
where we can have it managed
It's
by SMI.
nearby. It's within all our stuff. Good location. We like the.
It's our buy box.
It's our buy box. What else on that?
You actually didn't like this deal.
I didn't like
you
the deal.
hated it.
I didn't like the deal at first because of the cash flow position of it, and I like the deal more because now I'm a basis investor or something like that.
You,
And it costs really cheap per square foot.
He's a land banker.
that is a
Yeah.
good land.
I love this so
You
much.
guys want to know why Trevor actually started to like that deal more
What?
and more?
Why?
Because not the property's cash flow position, but Trevor's cash flow position has gotten drastically better.
Oh,
since January.
intrinsic versus extrinsic.
January. He doesn't
Trevor-
like the deal more. He's just hungrier because he has more money.
He has more money in his
Which-
pocket.
Makes sense.
So now
That
he
is
wants to
how-
do deals. Before he's like,
it's pulling him back.
I don't need another bleeder.
Do you guys see the grin coming out of his mouth though?
He knows that's what it is.
No,
If
I like
you
the
went
deal.
back to January right now, you'd say the exact same.
So I didn't like
And
the
then he
deal at
frames it as,
first.
"But I'm a basis investor," with the sly smile.
Screw you guys. Listen to me. Let me talk.
All right, tell us about your new
So-
strategy.
No,
How
no.
good is this basis?
It's $138. Dane convinced me later on that the rents could go higher than I thought they could, and that because it's $138 per square foot, you can't rebuild it in this condition for anything. So it makes sense. I agree.
So you're
So-
buying it for less than the depreciated value of the current improvements,
So yeah, whatever you're saying, sure.
and you're getting the
So-
land for free.
So whatever, yeah.
What's your
I like it.
basis
So,
investor?
hold on. No, I was joking about that. I don't give a shit about that. I like it because
He's an equity trader. He's a leveraged equity trader.
yeah, like technically we're overpaying it for it based on like a cap rate perspective, but it's so far below we're buying it like whatever, a 5.4 cap, stuff's trading between a 6 to 6.5, but we have $400 to run on each unit without any work almost, right? So then we can improve the value by like $1 million just on today's market rents by not doing a ton. So I like it for that reason. Why this deal fell apart on the front end though is we talked about it as we were going under contract and trying to structure it with you and talking about all the different ways we could do it. We're like, okay, we're going to maybe seller carry. We're going to maybe do whatever and put sellers in second and do all these different things, right? We're brainstorming it like we do on every deal live. And we put this podcast out like a month after, right? So the appraiser listens to the podcast on the way to that property.
Oh no!
Yes. Yes. Where
He's
we,
like, wait, this sounds familiar.
Yes,
Aren't
and-
I going to look at this?
Hey,
I recognize all four of those voices.
Yep. Check this out though. So I tried to be vague describing the property, and these two fools over here, Gabe and Dane, they start asking me specific
Perfect
questions.
description.
We narrowed it down.
And we narrowed it down to one property. It could be where like it's 138 per square foot. Here's the cap rate. Here's the rents. Here's what the units look like. So we're talking about all these ways, right? And this is
What's
is
the address?
and
That was the only piece of information that was.
And
We're laughing about being idiots, by the
Yeah.
way.
No, that was bad.
And so this is a month later, this thing comes out when we're brainstorming, like, okay, maybe let's put a second on it, because depending on the lender and whatnot, right, you can do different things with notes and seconds. Some lenders don't allow it, some lenders do, whatever. So we're brainstorming it. He calls the lender after he goes out there and listens to the podcast, and he says, hey, they're structuring this deal in a way that I don't think you'll like. Or something along those lines, right? So the lender calls us, and this is 3 days before close because all the delays on all this stuff, right? So we're getting ready to close this thing 3 days out. The lender already gave us approval and everything. He's like, hey, man, I got bad news for you.
So the podcast hit what you're saying. The podcast hit 3 days.
It
early.
hit like
you
3
should have
or
run
5
it. You
days
should have run
early.
it the day after closing, not 3 days.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but like how we talked about structuring the deal, right? We didn't even end up structuring that way on the front end that they wouldn't have liked. So he's like, all right, we can fix this. You just write this letter that you're following all loan covenants. We're like, yeah, no problem. Write them the letter, and then they still deny it. And we're like, why are you denying this? And they won't tell us. They're like, it's bad optics because this guy complained about it, so we feel bad if we give you the loan. But they're like, we'll give you the next loan though, just not this one. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't need a next loan. I need this loan right
this
now.
loan?
Secondary market. We felt bad.
Yeah. So they can't give us a reason on
But
why.
you can buy this loan because we feel good about this loan.
Yeah. So
we love you guys. We want to lend you money, But since the appraiser called you out on this one, we got to say no because that would be bad optics.
Yeah, so I'm really confused. I'm like, why won't you lend on this? Like, who can I talk to? Who can I figure out what's going on? I was like, they don't let us do any of that. Nothing at all.
They put you on the phone with an executive while we were driving down.
That wasn't an executive.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
It was somebody on their board because we were talking to somebody.
That was some lower level guy that was slightly above the guy we were talking about. That was a no one. Not a no one, but he didn't.
Well,
he wasn't the
hopefully he doesn't
decision
listen to the
maker.
podcast.
No one enough.
We also live in a world where lenders are a little fickle right now.
So I think the truth is they didn't actually want to lend anymore,
Yeah.
and we were getting a 6% rate on this thing, and they were like,
when everyone else was at like 6, 7, 5, or 7.
Yeah.
So did you put it together in a better deal format?
Well, hold on. Hold on. So these guys don't do it, and then I'm trying to figure out why. They won't tell me why, so I keep getting on the phone trying to go through the chain of command. And then he said, yeah, we listened to the podcast twice, and we just don't want to do this deal. And I was like, did you guys at least like the podcast?
That was good.
He did not laugh at all.
Oh, really?
No words about
I hope they hear this one though. I hope they're still listening.
Oh,
This lender I hate. Dude, they also fucked my credit because I had a line of credit with them set up on autopay, and they fucked it so hard. They gave me a late pay twice on it and then would not correct it, and I had to fight them for months to get it corrected.
This was tough.
Dude, I hate this lender. Dude, yeah, because I buy deals based on my credit.
I want to go apply for a loan and do another loan. Just get them to the closing table and
end it on them.
Cancel
Screw
it.
these
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
I hate these guys.
Yeah.
But
I love it when you guys are just now learning to have resentments against lenders. It warms my heart to know, like, oh, look at the young pups. They're learning the ways of the world.
Anyway, so we get an extension on this deal. Luckily, the seller was cool with us. We bought other deals from them. They were fine. We had extensions baked in. We gave them like $25,000 hard money,
released
extra. We released and put in more.
And by we, Trevor means Gabe. Yeah.
That's because he didn't have any money back.
I personally guaranteed.
Wait,
guaranteed my portion of it.
I also was on the deal and did not put any money. Just to give Trevor credit where it's due. Gabe's just a good partner.
But did you personally guarantee your portion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personally guaranteed. So anyway, we started looking for new lenders, right? I call this lender. This lender came through. They said they could do it. I'm like, hey, we just got our loan canceled on us 3 days before because they listened to this podcast episode where we talked about the deal this way and did this. And she's like, yeah, they just don't want to lend. We'll do the deal. Yeah. And she's like, they canceled it because of a podcast?
Yeah.
And
that
I'm
was
like,
the
yes.
hardest. We had to navigate for like 2 weeks just trying to get them to understand like what had happened. Like, why have you guys been under contract on this for 3 months? What actually like went down? We're like, no, literally.
We had a good appraisal.
Optics. Yeah.
It
was the weirdest
I think
thing.
the appraiser was mad because I said the deal wasn't worth what we were buying it for, and then he appraised it for more than what we were buying it for.
Well, that goes to prove it right there, right? They're just trying to hit your number. You said right on the podcast, yeah, I think we're overpaying like 10
by
to
10%.
15%. Yeah.
And
the number it's still appraised.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's that is the definition of a declining market. Appraisals coming in high.
yeah.
Well, I take it back after what I said. Cost approach or good, financial approach, whatever. It's a good deal.
No,
So we closed the deal.
We closed the deal.
But it took us months.
It took us months
6
to
months.
do this.
I mean,
today.
even when we already had the appraisal and we were assigning it to a new lender, I think they still took another 3 months to close it. Once we were 3 days from closing.
They took 80 days.
that was a little bit on us, maybe. I don't know.
Here's a lesson
It was
for
a
you
combo.
guys. If you can't learn how to close a deal in 90 days, you're not going to close enough deals.
No.
Because you're going to have deals that stack up and stack up and stack up, and to the point of having too many deals so you can't focus. If you can't get them freaking funded or closed, you just start stacking them, and at some point there's a diminishing return. You can't go out and do any new business.
Yeah.
So like one of the keys to buying deals is understanding how to work through lenders, work with the right lender, line the right lender up with the right asset, and make sure that you have all your financials in order, you've written your business model, you understand what you're doing. Now, they may slow walk you in some regards because the market's shifting and rates are going up and everybody's worried about recession and this sort of stuff. And there are a lot of banks backing out of deals right now, which is what gives us resentment. Some of that's just because their balance sheets are upside down. And one day they think they want to lend, and the next day their executives tell them, go make up some stupid excuse and say you listen to a podcast and kill the deal.
Yeah, bankers are finally going through what real estate developers went through 2 years ago. It's just different timings of things.
There was lag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even getting to your point, stacking deals, like that's so I got my first short sale approved in like 10 years last week.
Really?
Yeah.
A lender approved a short sale.
Short sale.
Wow.
Fucking took it too.
Wow. So now back in the day, Obama, you didn't have to pay taxes on that, but if you so you're not
the forgiven debt.
the forgiven. So now
Yeah, I don't care about that.
you're buying the short sale, or you're
Yeah, we're buying the short sale.
So
Yeah,
on
to
their
your-
side though, they're gonna have to pay taxes on what's
on
forgiven.
the forgiven debt. Yeah. But it's not even a whole lot of forgiven debt. But just to your point, so the short sale, the offer is accepted in January, and then you get an approval last week, and now you got to close next week. Well, I mean, I knew about it. I have it in my cash flow projections, but now I got to go close. I haven't raised money for the deal, so I've got to use money to buy it and then go raise money or really quickly raise money. So stacking up is a problem. You don't want to let them stack up too much. I was just trying to back you up.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. So to close out that deal, though, we got a worse rate. We had to pay more points, but we still closed the deal.
And you're happy.
We paid. We got like 6.25 rate or something like that, so not bad.
So how does that
10-year
fall
money.
and the good deals get better and better?
Well, I mean, this was just a deal that there are some deals you have to do, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you gonna do?
With that deal,
Yeah. What is it? $138 a
Nothing.
square foot.
I'm
Is this
gonna,
the one I told you to buy because it was such a good
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
Yeah.
You remember how I
the
said,
townhomes?
or
Yeah.
I don't know if Mike
Yeah.
is here. We talked about building bridges instead of burning bridges.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an example. So we bought 3 properties from a guy a couple of years ago. This 18 unit is his brother,
Mhm.
and this brother that we just bought this deal from him. Now we already have like we don't even know him, but we already have rapport
Mm-hmm.
and trust
Yep.
because we have been making payments to his brother on 3 other deals for the last couple of years, and his brother handed us 3 piles of shit that, I mean,
Oh,
I-
no one wants these.
like second worst one of them's like the second worst property in Salem. Not anymore. We had to dump tons and tons of money
It's
into
the
it.
third worst now.
It's fourth. But now the brother owns other properties, and so we take down the 18 unit, and then he owns other properties
Yeah.
that we plan to buy. So like,
And they're thrilled because we took over their problems,
Mhm.
fixed them all, and then we bought them creatively. So we're borrowing money from them for rehabs, doing
Mhm.
different things with these guys, or they're lending money on other deals and doing whatnot.
and we set them up for retirement.
So we're
Yeah.
making payments on money we borrowed from them. They don't have to worry about these things. And now we're just making payments to them, and they get to move wherever, do whatever, and collect monthly
Yeah,
checks
that's
and not
the-
think about it.
That's the one. Like that one seller can retire a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really one of the magic things that we do is set people up for retirement. People that are ready to not
They set you up for retirement.
And
That's why it's so great.
ultimately.
Think about that 10plex we bought with Dane, dude. Those guys have to be loving it.
yeah.
They're making more money on the payments we make to
And
them
they
than
do
were,
nothing.
and they do nothing. And we've turned through their whole freaking
The
tenant
whole
base
thing.
they gave us because they
So
filled
bad.
it with people that like
Insane.
do not pay rent at all ever.
Yeah.
Dude, we've turned through all 10 of those things almost, or close
yeah.
to.
We're at 9 of 10. Or no,
Yeah.
8 of 10.
That one doesn't cash flow. I
Not-
noticed.
Nope.
Heavens.
But it,
No.
Good
job,
I
Dane.
can't believe I got you guys to buy that thing.
I still
And
like
also
that deal.
didn't get paid on it so that I could pay for the bleed.
It's still not even bleeding that much. Like
No, it
we've put in
hasn't
like
been bad.
50 grand.
I would like to
But-
point out that Dane joined us 18 months ago. He's 25 years old and he owns 80 doors already.
Hmm.
So that's
80% of the way.
I don't disqualify him from the rookie podcast.
he's
It
not
was only
he's
3
not going to be a
deals.
rookie for
It's only
long.
3 deals. Do they measure it in 5 deals or 5 units?
Big
I can't remember, but
deals.
we're gonna get you in there because it's such a good story. Just buying an apartment building before getting a credit card, that needs to go on bigger.
The moral of that story
That is pretty sweet.
Yeah, the moral of that story
I forgot I did that. I didn't have a credit card and you guys were so confused. I didn't have any credit yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Anyways, what?
The moral of that story is this is sponsored by Vesta, and Dane came and signed up to work with us, and then we got him to 80 units.
That's true.
So we can literally take you from knowing nothing to Dane within 18 months.
Knowing nothing hurts. I
Oh,
would say
less
that.
than nothing.
I
All right.
thought this episode was brought to you by MCG because
Also
not,
MCG.
not all contractors are confident.
Do I have
That
an
too.
affiliate link for? I tell people to talk to you guys all the time. I need an
I don't think they
affiliate.
do.
Oh, you need a referral plan.
Yes,
We
one.
we can
yes.
Oh,
we can
really?
hop on that.
Okay.
$5,000
Alright.
per referral.
That sounds fairish.
Is that about right?
fairish?
I'll give you
There-
6 because I'm generous.
Depends on how many deals they do.
Yeah.
All right. What else? We're going to wrap it up here in about 10 minutes. So,
Okay.
what other deals do you want to talk about?
Oh, I wanted to talk about this storage deal so Dane could run it by us and we could all get feedback
Oh,
live
yeah.
and see if we like it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
let's
do it.
do it.
So we said we were going to go buy a storage unit.
We did.
complex. And now we're under contract to buy
So
one.
that was May.
Gabe,
That's
It-
the month and a half later.
It
you
was
guys
about
already-
30. I think it was about 30 or
30
40 days we went under
Wow.
contract on one.
Whoa.
Gabe
we-
is a man of his word.
We don't just talk about
No.
deals. We do deals.
I feel like a fucking.
AJ got it. AJ got me really excited.
Dude,
Yeah.
of all the people I've ever listened to talk about real estate
No.
besides Mike Nuss, I want to hang out with AJ.
Let's go
Osborne.
to. You want to go to Boise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go visit
Yes.
AJ. He'll,
Yeah.
dude. He'll.
I'll-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to.
Can we
take
does
note of that.
he-
Follow
can
up
he
with that.
charter? Does he?
Oh, he's going to send his jet to pick
well,
us up.
I was just. It's. I figured it might.
So
might as
here-
well ask.
Boys is an easy
Okay.
flight.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're playing. Is it Boise State? The
B-
football
it's a
team?
game?
Boise
They're
State.
playing Oregon this year.
Oh,
Is it in Boise or in Oregon?
I don't
Oh.
know.
I don't care. I want to go talk about real estate.
I don't know.
Well, I was just thinking we
went
can
to-
make it a whole weekend. thing
U of
with
O
AJ.
or OSU?
So let's go to Boise, and then we'll fly his jet to Oregon.
All
And
right.
watch the Oregon Boise game.
Are you going to pilot this jet, Mike?
We'll get some box
When you
tickets.
say we're going to fly,
Ew.
I don't know how to fly.
All right,
No.
we'll follow up with
That
you later
is
on that, Mike.
like a.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're
storage
we're,
units. Let's go.
we're inspired to do
Oh,
a storage
yes.
unit facility.
Okay, let me pull up the sheet.
I don't like this deal.
Yeah.
Why?
Trevor doesn't like the deal.
Let's just talk about
Trevor,
AJ
yeah, wait.
football and Jets.
Why don't you like the deal, Trevor?
This is a listed deal.
You can convince me, but so I don't like this deal because I feel like we're way overpaying for it, and I don't know if the upside is enough to make it worth the overpay.
I kind of agree.
Yeah,
And-
overpaying in an asset class that jumped significantly in value over the past couple years makes concern in my brain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I agree.
What if you could buy it with no money?
It depends on your timeline on that. No money.
What if it's 10 years?
I'm pretty cool with that.
At
What's your
3%
cap
interest
rate?
only.
Yeah, what if it's 3%?
What's your cap rate?
It's a 2.5% delta between
Five
the
and a half
interest
cap
rate.
and a 3%.
Yeah.
I like
I have
2%
10 years.
spreads. The other thing I want to look at is okay, so 5.5% is essentially what you could afford in debt now. So 10 years ago, you'll
Oh.
have more equity and you can afford more debt. That's
Mhm.
great.
So
Yeah.
Cost of money.
tell us
Yeah.
about the deal.
So
What is this?
It's how deep can we go on it?
Super high level.
Okay.
Don't describe the city,
it's just
the
a
exact size.
Storage.
It's
Don't.
storage.
We just talked about how we
Storage
messed up last
complex.
time.
Existing storage. How old's the facility?
Nope.
Yeah, it's
Okay, we can.
Decades.
It's
Like-
it's not too old.
Okay.
Let's say that.
Hey,
It's not
I drove
leaking?
by it, by the way.
It's not brand new.
You
but
know
it
how I
looks
talk
good.
about how I don't go to properties? I went to this property.
So you
Wow.
tell us about it. You're the only one who've seen it.
I
Oh,
really
I've
like
seen
it.
it.
I really
Yeah.
like it. It's in great shape. It's really clean. It's in a great part of town.
Yeah.
The roofs are great.
Yeah.
Siding's great. Envelopes great. Garage doors are great.
Yeah.
Gates, fences are great. Like it looks super easy to
No money to put into
maintain
it.
and
Yep.
manage.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of small
Mhm.
for what I think we should be doing, but it's also an
It's
asset
where
type.
AJ said to start.
It's where and it's what we haven't done
Yeah.
before. So this is like 150 plus.
Let's not talk
yeah.
Doors.
about price, or we can
Didn't-
talk
Yeah,
about
so-
cap rates and everything. and where you
envelope.
can take it to.
Yeah.
Like I don't know much about storage, but
Yeah.
just from a building standpoint,
Super
you
clean.
need an envelope.
Yeah.
And then do you have intrinsic value upside? Intrinsic value upside.
Yeah.
So tell
You
us.
mean can I raise the rents on it? Yeah. So I did because I was worried about it too. I thought it was way over.
What's your occupancy rate?
Right now they're at 10%
90,
vacancy.
90%
Yeah.
occupied.
And they're not advertised well at all.
Okay.
So this is literally just like people showing up and not answering the phones because they don't live in state and they're managing it kind of thing.
Okay.
So
So they're self-managing this.
they have been, it's like a hybrid, it sounds like. They have somebody who's helping them, but for the most part, it's them. It's not a management
They
company.
answer the phone calls
Correct.
themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Why did they not place management? Is there
'Cause
no
they were-
management in these?
they
Can I
were-
get in on this deal?
they lived in town.
This
so
sounds
they
great.
they lived
Okay.
in the place where it was, if I'm not mistaken, And then from what I was told,
Yeah, these are sellers we have a relationship with.
Yeah.
There's already trust.
Gabe knows
We
them.
put them into this deal.
Hence 3% interest rate.
And they like us, and they have a certain.
Oh, you put him into the deal?
Yeah, one of our brokers put them
Okay.
into the deal a
Yeah.
few years ago. They really liked the property. We actually did their loan and everything for them. So
So
They're-
you cheated.
why are
You're
they
30
selling?
days cheating. You
Hey,
had an inside.
it's not really cheating
Whoa, dude.
when you spend your whole life building a brokerage.
Yeah.
I'm
So
talking
that you
about
can
our
have
contest.
opportunities come
There's-
forth, right?
there's
You
not a-
handicapped our
Wait,
bet. You
and
handicapped our bet.
it's listed, so you could have fought us on this
Oh.
deal.
There's not a
It's on the
deal
market.
Oh.
It's
in
on the
the
market.
Willamette
So here's the
Valley.
reality. Someone took the bet seriously and someone didn't.
It's true. Gabe.
Yeah, you
Trevor-
took it serious and then
Gabe's
it
a
just
man
fell
of
in
his
our
word.
lap.
You were
so.
worried about office towers.
I
You
was.
you were sidetracked.
So they're selling this thing because they moved and they don't want to
Yeah,
self-manage
they're out
it?
of state.
Okay,
They're
so
out
they
of
moved
state.
away. They're
They
still
just wanna-
self-managing it. It's a
correct.
pain in the ass to own.
I don't even know that they're. Yeah. Yes. Correct.
Okay.
They don't.
What are
wanna
you guys
make-
going to do?
it's a quality of life move for them.
They're gonna
So
buy it?
they're. Well, okay. I'll
What
give you-
percentage below market rate is this thing? Like,
I think that it is minimum 20% below, but I think that it's potentially more than that.
I think it's
So.
50% below.
I think that
Okay,
it's
so you
with
can get
somewhere-
your gross rents up 20 to 50%.
So right now, gross rents are on average between all the units, but I broke it down by unit. But on average, it's $88 per unit,
And you think you can
per
get that
year.
120?
125,
Okay.
just based on like rough market.
how much
looked
are we
at 3
overpaying
different
right now
properties.
for it versus what is it worth once you get it there?
I mean, to
So
Mike's
your
point,
yield on
self
cost
storage
is 5.5%. That's your cap rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
buying in a 5.5 cap?
5.5.
on
Are you sure?
on rents that are below,
yeah.
way below
So
market.
then you're going to get your actual
So
2 years from now.
I thought we were-
your actual yield, your investment yield is going to be.
It's not going to take 2
significantly
years. To AJ Osborne's point, what I loved
Yeah.
about his presentation is he said when everybody tells him that they're 90+% occupied,
Yeah.
he's like, "That's the one
Well,
I want."
that's
Yeah.
why I asked.
Because you can go in on day one, and
Yeah.
even if you double
You
the
want
rents,
100% occupancy.
half your tenants leave,
Yeah.
and you still make the same money, and you got half your
Yeah.
units available to go
Yeah.
out and lease up at market rent. It's
So-
totally different than what we do in apartments and even mobile home.
And I don't know storage, but how much of that 5.5, like your fixed cost, like most of your costs are fixed, right? They're not going to be going
Yeah.
up significantly.
No, so and I'm underwriting to double what they say their current expenses are,
Okay.
and so
As
the
you
five
They're
and a
going to
half
double
is-
the expenses.
the
and
five
Well,
and a
yeah, 'cause
half
you're adding
is-
in management, which is
Five and a half is with the exact rents that they have and double, but it's also it's
Oh.
even higher than what the guy who's running all those facilities says that we should be able to run.
Why are you running an expense load so high?
Because the guy was like, hey, when I underwrite something, I don't want to buy it unless I'm running it at this expense ratio, and then if I can come in and do it lower than that, awesome.
This is
But
your guy you're talking about bringing into this deal.
who already runs a bunch of these things. Because I was like, hey, I don't want to have to go try to figure it out on my own. Like, I don't want to do whatever research. You already know the market. If I can give him,
I think we need to figure out how to do it. That's the whole point in getting into self.
No. I was saying on the front end, like underwriting.
Oh,
So yeah. So as far as him managing it or not, who knows?
let's have
But
AJ underwrite it for us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a
Worth it.
5.5 cap right now? I thought it was like a
5.5
4 cap.
on my underwriting. No.
Okay, 5.5
Yeah.
cap on.
Whoa.
At double actual expense load.
So
Is that your
no, I think
performa
that
cap?
what they
Is that your
show on-
performance 5.5?
No.
Or your as is
So
with increased
on current
expenses?
income, but with double the expenses.
So your
that they
actual
show.
cap rate is better. Than
no, the expenses are going to be double because they don't have management, and management is super expensive, and they're not maintaining.
who's going to
like I said.
manage it?
No, it's
We got
really well maintained.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought self storage was kind of like a
You guys love to get
automated.
into the details.
What?
There's a spiritual principle around spreadsheets killing deals. Remember we talked about this?
Yeah.
Hey,
There's some deals you just have to
okay.
do.
Okay. So that's
This is one of the ones where it's close enough that, and we have a long enough timeline that if we just get to learn our lesson on this deal, I'd rather do it
Okay.
that way.
hold on. This sounds great to me. Then I thought it was a way lower cap rate, so that's fine. 5.5.
Yeah.
But what does storage trade at around in these areas?
Dude, we don't have
There's probably no
comps.
trading.
We don't have
Yeah.
comps for this type of asset.
Okay.
And here's
Because
where
one is the location of it. You've got like 2 other options, and both of them are nationally traded facilities.
So here's what I love about the deal. I love the location.
So much.
I love the city it's in. I love the
Yes.
part of town that it's in.
yes.
I love the fact when we talk about a good deal gets better and better. I love the fact that we got on the air and said we want to buy a self-storage facility, and then God actually handed us, here you go. Here's
is the
one with
one.
people you already know
Everything's
that are
set
willing
up.
to be creative with you and help you get into a deal that's exactly the size we want to get into, that on a conservative underwrite still cash flows.
Mhm.
We got room to run in the rents. And we
Does
can
it
just,
cash flow?
Yes,
Okay.
And you don't have to use any money to get it.
maybe.
maybe
That's up in the air.
that is up in the air.
That
So-
was a small.
So here's what I
We're
here-
in negotiation.
here's what I don't like is we've never been in this asset type, so we don't actually understand it. Number two, to me, storage is like it runs the risk of being overbuilt in that market. We don't know in that area how many storage facilities there are, how many are coming.
Mhm.
That's or maybe you've studied that. Have you
Yeah.
studied the
Yeah.
market down there?
So there's one delivery, and we know who's delivering it, and it's actually not even there. There will not be anything in as good of a location as this one, just because of the city that it's in and the way that their code is.
So why?
works.
Tell me why we would not do this deal.
Why we wouldn't do the deal is if we had too short of a timeline on the debt.
So
'Cause we
think
do
can get
cash
cash
flow.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you have
That's
to
the
cash them
only
out.
reason-
or the,
yeah.
Well, I like this deal. Never mind.
If I
So what happens if you don't build a long enough runway and you get to the end, you just got to sell, or you got to
Yeah.
you got to come to
Yeah.
with a cash in.
we're selling, and so that's the downside of doing interest only too, is that if we kind of forget about the project and manage it for 3 to 5 years on
and
shorter
we don't,
debt,
and we don't improve the value,
don't improve the value,
and now we got to get off of this
Yeah.
debt, and we can't.
and you're interest only, then you're in kind of bad. You don't want to be there. But if we have 7 years, we actually improve the value of it, and everything else remains the same, right? Because he's got, for the record too, there have been conventional offers at the same price, and so they just know you, and that's why they're doing the deal with us. So I don't.
Social capital.
that market warrants a tighter cap rate.
It's funny. That's
Okay.
exactly what I was gonna say. We looked at each other and had the same word in our brain.
So my fear with that deal was storage trades at like an 8 cap. We're buying at
No.
a 5.5
8
cap.
cap?
No,
oh,
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. That's
no,
it doesn't trade it.
nothing. Nothing.
Well,
in-
here, so storage used to trade at 8 caps.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. Is
Yeah.
once financing changed, the cap rate compression happened, and
Mhm.
so now you don't know where their cap rates are going to be in 2 years.
because we haven't seen anybody lend on them yet. No deals have
Exactly.
traded. There's
Yeah.
no price
Yeah.
discovery.
Yeah, and you haven't had any distress in that market yet. So 10 years down the road, I'm not too concerned, but 3-5, that's setting you up because
Yeah.
it's just the unknown.
yeah. So
No,
my
fine.
fear was it actually trades an 8 cap. We're buying a 5.5. We're going to take it to an 8 cap, but we're overpaying. So it's like we're doing all this work to make no money.
Well,
Why are
you make all the cash flow in the intern.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the one thing. But I thought we were going to bleed on it to start, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it super close.
But that's exactly how you
Yeah.
should look at
Yeah.
it. Is
Yeah.
So can you create enough intrinsic value? And that's the way AJ looks at it, is like if you do your job well enough, and I think he wants to double it essentially. So if you buy at a 5.5 and get it to an 11,
Mm-hmm.
in a pinch, you can afford a 10% interest rate.
Mhm.
Interest only.
oh yeah.
Cash
sure.
them out.
Mhm.
You lose all your cash flow, but you
Yeah. You can hold the
extended.
deal, and you. Can,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
And there's more that comes out of this deal than just the deal, because we get to learn the asset type and decide
Yes.
whether or not.
Yep.
If this teaches us enough to go buy our next 5 storage
Absolutely.
facilities,
You told me to buy deals to learn is a really bad way to go.
well,
about
it depends on if,
I-
you're,
it
if you're
depends
getting
on
out of your
learning
lane.
curve too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you really have to just. You don't want a new person to buy a deal to learn, but someone who has a lot of experience, now you can do that.
You leverage into the right deal, and you get cash flow from day one, and all you have is upside. And the biggest risk is you get to the end of your runway, and
I think the risk
You
is
haven't
what we
hit your
don't know.
business
'Cause we've
plan?
never buy storage. So.
It's small enough though that's
yeah.
why
I'm not super.
it's
concerned.
small enough and in a good enough market that I'm comfortable.
here's what I'll say about self-storage is, in my mind, I was always taught that in a recession, people don't want to pay $150 to leave their crap in a garage somewhere, and they want to go sell that stuff and make a little extra money. So when we go at like 08 crash as an example,
Mhm.
a lot of these storage places went to 25 to 50% vacancy.
Mhm.
So you want to be able to at least break even. Your break even point needs to be at about a 50%. This is just what I was taught.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how real any of this is.
Yeah.
But when we listen to AJ,
That's
who owns the largest self-storage platform in the world,
Mhm.
and he's probably, I would imagine, the number one most respected guy in this space in the United States.
Mhm.
And he says he loves this asset type specifically because during a recession,
Mhm.
people still want to have their storage unit, and they move out of their house to go to an apartment, or out of the big apartment to the small apartment,
Mhm.
and they got to go store all their crap. And to him, he saw it exactly the opposite of the way I was taught, and he feels like it's almost like a counter cyclical asset type. And so that is kind of what got me excited, because I sort of poo-pooed storage.
So
before I
your
heard him talk.
NOI is potentially at its all-time best during a recession.
During a recession.
Which then you can match with the best interest rate, which comes during a recession.
Well, and the fact that he talks about buying one, he goes in and he doubles the rents on day one. Half the people leave and he doesn't care because he has the same income, and now he just goes out and rents out the other half. It's a totally different mindset than residential or anything else that we're involved in, commercial.
You know how he got popular?
Huh.
He wrote a white paper on why vacancy rate or occupancy is the worst metric. So he went and offended the entire industry, saying this is why you guys are all idiots, because 100% occupancy is terrible. And this, so that's how he got into it.
This is just like in multifamily when we talk to an owner and they brag about, my average tenant's been living there 15 years. And we're like,
vacancy.
We'll have an offer to you in 48 seconds.
What's your NOI? You want to make 10% more?
Yeah. No, I'm with you on the AJ thing. I think part of that was the market that he was in 2008 versus the market that you were in, and how overbuilt maybe one was versus the other.
Well, it's an easy asset type to overbuild, I think. It's kind of cheap construction. It can go up really quick.
No question.
A lot of zoning will allow for it. So I think you really have to be careful that you're not jumping in. Like even the big dogs in our market, like Tokarski, they were building storage for a while, and they totally backed down because I think they felt like it was overbuilt.
And it's not, I mean, it's not the same as, it's nothing like multifamily and how difficult it is to get that through the pipeline from start to finish.
It's, well, you're not, it's not life safety oriented.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is like there's always going to be a need. You can overbuild for a period in multifamily, but you can overbuild for a decade in self-storage. And that's what AJ was saying, because you could go to the smallest town in Oregon and build enough storage for the whole town with one property. He was like, you can build a 400,000 square foot facility. They don't need it. You could be 100% occupied as no vacancy as a city, and then build one project, and all of a sudden you're 75% occupied. And so you're looking at this metric of occupancy, but it's so much easier to overbuild than multifamily.
And I think his white paper about occupancy, it's funny because it actually for him is a really good metric, because he uses high occupancy as a way to identify opportunity.
What's the expense ratio that you have this at?
I was running it at 30.
What's the national average and Oregon average for storage?
Oregon average was it's $1 per square foot, and I was higher than that.
Okay.
It's not a percentage because it's not a good metric.
All right, I'm going to keep you honest. You got to get to the airport.
All right.
You do. You're
I'm
late.
going to go pick up my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to buy this deal. Did Mike approve the deal? Mike wants in on the deal.
I
do.
Mike,
I do. Can I have some of that zero down?
Yeah.
We're going to give Mike 5% of the deal for not finding the deal, just for helping us walk through it today on the podcast.
Friend.
Hey, I introduced you to AJ.
Wait,
that should get me
thank
something.
You.
Hey,
thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me say, if you guys are listening and want to do deals with us, we will do deals with you. If you find a good deal, we will help you do the whole deal. We're looking for 10 to 200 units, multifamily, or storage,
Value add,
Or
value add,
MHP.
or mobile home parks. And we will do all these deals. We'll walk you through it. You can do the deal with us. Do the same like Dane did.
We'll
starting out
we'll
with
give
us.
you ownership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can call 503-789-9821.
Oh, Mike's going to throw up the same offer right now.
you cannot put your phone number.
Oh, that's there
Guess it's
forever.
already everywhere.
All right.
I don't answer it. It doesn't matter.
Well, they have to know his phone number for all their free coaching they're going to
true.
get, right?
Oh, yeah. Shout like so Jake got a free coach. Alex hit me up. Alex Ferry is going to have to get one. And then Casey tagged me and shared, but he didn't ask for coaching. So
Casey who?
Casey Rowland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Casey.
Yeah, so Casey, shout out. You didn't ask for it, but we'll give you one.
I love Casey.
All right.
Yeah, I like him too.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for listening. We really love doing this podcast. Share it with your friends, and we'll keep doing it for you. We're going to do it anyway, even if nobody's listening.
No,
we're
we're not. We're not going to do any more until this gets shared 100 times.
If you enjoy it, please do give it a like. You don't have to turn on.
How do you like it
notifications.
anyway?
There's a little 5-star button on Spotify.
Slam that subscribe.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's
you
cool.
Can subscribe to them.
Follow.
Yeah, boost our ratings.
Give us some stars.
All
We'd
right, guys.
appreciate it.
We love you all. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.